say hello to everybody out there, and I want to say welcome to West Oakland Stories Positive Feeling Movement's very first interview with our founder and our very humble first guest, Mr. Ed Howard. Ed, you want to say hi to everybody out there?
Well, I want to say hi to you, Maurice Powell. I'm very enthused that you come in all the way from San Jose for us to begin this interview. So why don't we get into it?
All right, let's get into it. So, Ed, if you don't mind, I got a few questions already lined up, but I want to make sure that we communicate exactly what it is that West Oakland Stories is all about. So, before we get into talking a whole lot about your personal background, could you tell us a little bit about the organization and how you got things started?
That's a very good question, Maurice. How I started West Oakland Stories was really, I had been gone from Oakland for probably about 30 years. And when I came back, the people I ran into began to talk to me about old times. And a lot of my friends would always say, you ought to do that, Ed, because I was always the kind of go-getter guy.
Right.
And so you ought to put something together, Ed. And in a nutshell, I thought about that, and that's what I did. I started just going out talking to people. I remember talking to the first lady, and she says, "You can't do that. How you gonna do that? Everybody's too old, and where you gonna find them?" And as I normally do, I didn't ever listen to that. I just kept talking.
Right on.
Till one person here, one person there led me to the other. Till that's how the West Oakland story began.
All right. All right, and I really appreciate those humble beginnings, fighting to be heard, and not going along with the negativity, because one of the major things that I know about the organization is we practice and we preach no negative speak. And for those who are unfamiliar with the concept, do you mind explaining a little bit about what no negative speak is about and what the movement's about?
Well, no negative speak is comes from again my personal feeling about life. I've always been a very positive person, and I I just know from my soul that the more negative you are, the less things can be built, the less things can but materialize into becoming something positive. So it was just natural for me to say, when I hear people talk, and all I hear is they talk about how bad things are, how things are not working. But my question is always, well, what are we going to do about it? And that's how no negative speak came out. At first, it started off. I said, just say Oakland is not bad, and it has matured into Oakland is not bad to no negative speak.
All right. All right. So you mentioned people had negative things to say about Oakland itself. Could you give us a little bit about things that you've heard or like experiences you've had where people have expressed negativity about Oakland as a whole, and either they needed to be corrected or they needed to have that conversation expanded to give some context for everything that's really going on here in Oakland.
Well, I've just experienced that when most people talk about Oakland, it was always in a negative manner, and I never felt that way. You know what I'm saying? It was
Right on.
always, no, Oakland's not like that.
Right on.
So again, back to the positive lane. It was never true what somehow people would always speak on. I grew up in Oakland. I was what you call a street person. And I can only tell you about one shooting in my whole life. I grew up on 7th Street, which is the known street, black street in Oakland. Everyone say how bad it is. I can only tell you about, I only saw 2 or 3 fights. So it's totally different from what the image is.
Okay. And why do you think it is that negativity spreads so much faster than the positive information or the positive affirmation about a place? Like, why do you think people are so quick to latch on to that negativity as opposed to like seeking out something to counterbalance or something that to really give context to a circumstance? Like, there's got to be people who understand like the world can't be entirely bad, or how do we get by? How do you get from yesterday to today if everything is terrible? So why do you think
I'll
people
give you
act
an
that way?
example in my life. When I was in elementary school, I remember, I really remember I wanted to go to juvenile.
Really?
And the reason why I wanted to go to juvenile,
Uh,
because the guys that went to juvenile, when they came back to school, they were admired. They were looked up to. The girls liked them. You follow what I'm saying? So that was negative, but
right.
the negative guys, which was only a handful of them, the majority of us was not negative. But the negative guys always seemed to get the benefits or get
Yeah.
what everybody else wanted.
Right.
So I applied that thought and that experience to the black community in general, where negativity seems to be rewarded uh, rather than positivity. Positivity is almost like, well, what you reading so much for?
Okay.
No
Yeah.
one seems to like that.
Yeah.
Why are you smart? You're
Yeah.
too smart.
Yeah. It's like
So you try not to be smart if you're smart. I mean, they
it
flip it.
sounds a little bit like it makes you unremarkable. You're doing what you're supposed to do.
Right,
Like how
right.
you're supposed to, like taking care of business
Exactly.
is kind of mundane or it's not exciting.
It's not exciting. No one
And
wants to do it.
and that's it's a little bit of a shame. Like I
Yeah.
gotta say, like in my experience when
Okay.
I was younger, it's a lot of the same things when I grew up. Like bad boys got a lot of play,
Right,
and so
right.
when I was coming up on the radio, everything was about thug life, and so you know Tupac was a big influence me growing up,
Okay.
and he very you know deeply entrenched in Oakland, in Oakland life. And so, like, he actually, made a point to try to explain thug life in the terms that, it can go one way. Like, it can be, me, bucking with somebody, but also it's me making sure, the powers that be or whoever else is trying to bring that smoke into the neighborhood, they don't get to have their way.
Right.
Like so,
Right.
in that sense, it's like we gonna make sure those who intend to do like major harm
Right.
aren't coming up in here. But like if we got to settle things between man to man or anything like that, like it's that too. But somehow that's gotten co-opted and turned into something else.
Right.
And when it went mainstream, that message kind of got lost in the sauce,
Right.
and so people kind of just latched on to bad boy image, like you know rebel without a cause kind of thing, what have you. But at the end of the day, he was right back to that positivity you seem to be talking about, where it's like I'm gonna make sure I take care of home, I'm gonna take care of my people. And I think that part of the message ended up getting lost, cut off, the same way that you're talking about right now. So it's kind of interesting to see that's something people kind of gravitate toward. So I want to follow up with, What do you think about this movement that can make that positivity uh, one of the main ingredients to how we interact with one another going forward?
Well, I believe positivity, positivity, positivity overpowers negativity. So what my organization is doing, if we had a conversation, you play the negative person, I'll be the positive person, and you talk negative, speak negative things, and I tell you, as I don't want to talk about that, that's negative. If you continue to talk negatively, even though I said I don't have to get mad or nothing. I just will say I don't want to speak that way, talk to you about that. I can just leave, or I can just be quiet. If you continue, you will look kind of foolish.
Right. All right.
That's what positivity can do. You don't have to really do much. You just stay in your positive mode.
Right.
A negative person needs interchange
Yeah.
with each.
Right.
They need to have someone to come back with whatever. By them being negative, they need you to feed into their negativity. So positive person, which is what I'm telling you this because I've been using this all my life. This is my life thing I do. When I'm a guy, like I say, I've been around the street guys. A lot of them are very negative. But the way I always handle it from a kid up, I don't know if this is a God given thing to me. I was always a positive person. I wasn't afraid of it. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't afraid to say, I won't do this, I won't do that. And I always found that they took to me. They they would be with me like they wouldn't be with everyone else. They would be negative with everyone else, but when it was me and them, they would be another person.
Right.
They would be another person because I stayed in the positive mode.
Right.
And I've been using that up to this day. That's what no negative speak kind of comes from that kind of my experience in life.
All right. All right. So if I may, kind of summarize a little,
No problem.
no negative speak is uh, it's a grounding technique. Like when all that that wild static or fire and all the turbulence in life starts coming at you from whether it's a person, whether it's a circumstance or a series of people or a series of circumstances, it's a way for you to stay grounded and make sure that you don't get off your spot and you don't become a different version of yourself in response to those things. So you're saying I'm not going to engage in behavior that's not, where I want to be, and that's not true to me, uh, because I need to get back at you, or I need to get back at this, or I need to fire back because I've been fired upon. They're like, you know what? I'm gonna be all right, and I'm gonna do it right because that's is my deal. It looks like we got a little interruption.
Is that
So
my phone?
yeah,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wanted to respond to what you were just saying, Maurice. You explained it very well.
okay, all right. I'm
You
glad to hear
captured exactly what my thoughts are.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah,
All right. So uh, now that we got a little bit of an establishment on, what Spoken Stories is trying to accomplish and what no negative speak means and how it can be used, I'd like to try to turn the conversation more towards you and your personal life, and maybe along the way, we understand a little bit about where you were met with negativity, where you got a chance to practice no negative speak and get a little bit of a feel for how the organization itself and the mantra itself began to develop through your life and through your personal and your lived experiences. Does that sound all right?
Could you break it down a little bit shorter than that for me?
Oh, sure. We just, we were talking a lot about the organization itself. And so I just wanted to take some time to turn the conversation towards you, Ed Howard, the man, and speak a little bit about your life. And we'll pepper in a little bit about no negative speak, but really want to get to know you and share your story.
Okay. So you want me to speak on who I am? What are you?
Sure. So, the organization is called West Oakland Stories, and we spoke earlier, and you mentioned that you moved here from Louisiana.
Oh, okay. If I understand your question, that's a difficult question for me to say who I am. But I'll tell you who I think I am.
Right.
uh, I feel my whole life has been a blessed life. I could, again go in the area of poor and all that, but I've never felt none of that. I've been all of that, but I've never felt it. I've never even had thoughts like that. I could tell you about broken home and not having much in terms of material things as a young boy and young man, but I always felt, even when as I'm older, looking back, I know now that I was very poor and I was very raggedy, but I thought I was sharp.
All right.
And I thought I was good looking.
There you go.
Probably don't. I've always felt that way,
right.
about myself. So I progressed through life, even as an adult. Coming to an adult, I was still the same. Wherever I went, I didn't feel no one was better than me.
Right on.
I never felt no one was better than me. If anything, I felt I was better than them. So, and I had buddies, again in my life, I got friends from, elementary school up to now. Most of them are gone now, but we went all the way through life, in touch with each other. So we all it wasn't just me, you know what I mean? Everybody had their own personalities, but everybody was basically felt good about themselves. We were never, people talk about Oakland, especially back in the 40s, 50s, and all that prejudice and races or whatever. We never felt that way. We always felt like whites were afraid of us, or or we could we were we could outdo them. We never felt like well, they were smarter or whatever it was. We just always felt we could top them. That's kind of my life, and I still feel that way about things in general. I always feel like in West Oakland Stories. That's how it started. I didn't even think about it. I'm just gonna do it, and I just started to do it. And here, almost 10 years later, it's being done. You know what I'm saying? It's out there in the world now.
Manifesting. That's right. All right. So, how did you and your family come to Oakland?
You're not my married family, my parents.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Um, the story, my father actually came first in 1940, and my mother came in 1941, and they sent. It was just only my brother, my older brother, and myself at that time, and they sent. We were living with my grandmother, my mother's mother, and I guess they sent the ticket or the money, whatever, and my grandmother brought us to California in 1942 on the train. That's how we got to California. My father's story was he was in Sweetsport, Louisiana. We had moved from, I was born in waterproof Louisiana. And I must have been about 2 years old, I think, when we moved to Sweetsport, Louisiana. And he was a chauffeur for a white family. This is his story to me and my brother. He said the wife of the household wanted him to mess around with her. And he wouldn't do it. And she indicated to him that if he didn't, she was going to, say something like a rape or something like that. This is the story from my father to me. And he said, when she said that, he said he knew he had to get out of there, out of that town, what I mean. So, I don't know the details, but I think it was something like he knew someone else was coming to California, and he helped them drive to California. His buddy or whoever he was. That's how. Matter of fact, he said he had a sister in Detroit. He was thinking about that, but he must have run into his friends. They was talking about California, and anyway, they drove to California. Okay. That's the substance of how the family got to California.
That's incredible. You hear about things like that, and to have it be part of like your personal history, your personal story, and how your family had to migrate. A lot of people I know of who are part of Great Migration, it gets framed around work opportunities, and they wanted to build a better life in California because they get paid better, they get treated better along the way. But this is one of the first I've ever heard where it's like, this can go left real quick.
Right.
And we got to get up out of here.
Right.
Like, I don't mean to smile through it, but like that's, like it's something out of a movie almost. Like that's what it sounds like, for me. Like I'm very, very removed from that being any kind of norm. People my generation, that's not something we normally hear about. Even though some of those things do still occur.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So your family's not moved yet. Your father's in California. Did he find occupation or trade or anything like that to start off with, and then send for you? How did that work out?
Okay, let me say a little bit about my father.
Sure.
I think I'm much like my father. It's a funny story because my oldest brother in the family, everybody always said that my oldest brother was like my father. But now looking back at it, I think I was more like him than my oldest brother was. My, my father was a minister. He wasn't a minister at the time. He was a country boy that could sing.
Okay, then.
They would go around the country towns, near country towns singing.
All right.
So he was more like a kind of little hip guy. And the story for him, how that developed, was that he was sickly when he was young. So he didn't have to go in the fields. He was that sick, I guess. Right. Not a physical guy too much. So he was like by circumstance, wasn't like the rest of the brothers. It was 13 kids in his family. So I'm sure that molded him, knowing how I can see back on it now, that molded him in a certain way. So they all was in the church, of course. Everybody was in the church at that time. So he picked up on the singing thing. He had a group. And he used to tell me as I met my mother going into the town. And he was singing and the girls liked him. That kind of thing. So what I'm trying to say is that when he came to California, it wasn't so much like the typical black guy coming looking for just a job.
Yeah.
He came, he did get a job. It's the only job I ever knew him to have. Because he got it in the shipyards in Oakland. Because the war had, I don't think that was the Second World War started about 38 or something. So he was there in 40. And it was a shipbuilding industry in Oakland. He got a job. All the blacks basically got a job at the shipyards in Oakland. That's what blew Oakland up. And he only worked in that shipyard. He couldn't have worked there 42, 43. We came in 42. So he must have worked there about a year and a half or something like that. Because he got drafted. And went in the service. In, I think, 44 or something like that. And the war was over in 45. So he was only in the service about a year or so. And when he come back, he started a church in Richmond, California. I remember going to the church. And he's been a minister ever since. He had a church in Richmond, he had a church in Oakland, he had a church in Washington, the state of Washington, he had a church in Alaska, he had a church in Nevada. That was his life. So he's always been a minister. And but he was family broke up. I mean, way back when I was 11 years old, him and my mother. But he was always in touch with his family.
I was going to ask how he was able to start churches all over the place like that. Was it he was called to build them up and then go?
Well, he was. That's what I'm saying. He was much like it because I've done things similar, not in the ministry, but he works something. It works for a while, but it doesn't work. He just will try the next thing. I remember when he left in 1949 from Oakland going to Washington. He went up to Washington by circumstance. There was only one black church in Pasco, Washington. And the minister somehow, the people in the church kind of was falling out with him. He was there by circumstance. He got that church. Then that lasted for about 6, 8 years. And some of his parishioners had gone from Pasco, Washington, was a very small town, and sent for him to come up to Alaska.
All right. Oh, just a second. I'm going to pause this real quick. All right. So your father had several different churches he ran. You said that was a little bit like yourself, that you had your own.
Well, I'm saying I left Oakland too, and went to San Diego, and through circumstances, I went and took a job as a mechanical designer, and as a contractor. And the place I was working for, within it wasn't even 6 months, they were going out of business.
All right.
And it was a very small company, and they was going out of business. And when they said that, I asked them what they were going to do with all that equipment.
Okay.
All the engineering equipment, the drawing boards and copiers and all that. And he said, well, we shut them down. That's it.
All right.
I said, well, can I take it?
Yeah.
I mean, it was more in depth than that, but basically that's what I'm saying. And they said, yeah.
All right.
They just let me have all the equipment. As a matter of fact, I talked the guy overseeing the office, small office, to go talk to the landlord of the building and agree to put down half of the rent, you know what I mean? And I got it.
Right.
As I started an engineering firm in San Diego.
Look at that.
So I'm saying I'm much like my father
Right.
in that sense, I just thrive off of circumstances,
Right on. Right on.
And I did that for 20 years in San Diego. I ran that engineering firm.
All right. And you, how did that work out for you? I mean, you're a black man in San Diego running an engineering firm. Was there any? I don't want to go straight to any hardships or anything like that, but just had you had any experience running an engineering firm in the first place? Like you're very entrepreneurial in that sense. So how'd you come about the experience?
Well, it wasn't. I had run a business before.
Oh, right.
I had run several businesses before. We just haven't got to. We kind of jumping over it, but I had business experience before I got to San Diego.
Okay.
I had a nightclub, I had a consulting firm, I had a promotional firm. I had done a lot of things before I got to San Diego.
Okay then.
I mean, you want to go through all of that?
Well, you can kind of give us the highlights if you want to go that route and just like you had a nightclub. Then we want to stop there for a little bit. You talk a little bit about the nightclub.
Well, again, my life has just been one development. I've just done so many things. I just have to say it in the order that it came. That's the only way I can think about it.
All right.
If you want to start from a paperboy, as a kid at 10 years old, I'm the youngest kid in the whole city almost with a paper route.
All right.
Because usually I think it was 12 before you're supposed to be to get one. I had one at 10 years old.
How you work that out?
My mother worked in the shipyard too.
Okay.
And the guy, white guy she worked with, when they both got laid off, he was a route master for the neighborhood.
I see.
So she got my brother, who was old enough, and I guess that's where I got it because he was 12. He was 2 years older than me. And so I got a paper route too.
Sound like my mama. That's exactly how she would have did it.
And that was, I would actually say, the paper route put me on a life journey of entrepreneurship.
Oh,
because with a paper route, you had to every day you had to deliver the papers 7 days a week, right? You had to go to the shack and get your papers. You had to fold your papers up, put them in a bag, walk to your neighborhood. We stayed in projects. You had to deliver to all the people that bought the paper, and you had to sell and get new customers.
Right.
You know, you had to go and knock on doors and say, "You want to buy the paper?" You know,
Yeah.
and you would sell it. And then when you had classes, you had what was the class? Let's just say A and B class. When you sold enough, you know, you get A, and you sold enough, you get B, or
Okay.
so on and
Okay.
so forth. And you would get a little trip over to Frisco to Playland. So that got me out in the
All right.
neighborhood, saw something I'd never seen
Yeah.
before. I was always good at math, so I don't even remember. I could count money. I don't remember when I couldn't count money. Because you had to collect the money.
That's right.
And you had to bring the money back and give it to the Tribune, the newspaper people, and you kept your profits.
All right.
So that brought me into that. After a paper route, what did I do? Well, I went as a teenager. I went out in the fields, the valley, from Oakland, picking apples, tomatoes, farm stuff.
All
I
right.
did that in junior high. In junior high, I was in the fields in the summer. That's where I made my money to for school, back to school,
All right.
because we had nobody at home. At that point, it was just my mother and the kids. So I got to high school. My mother got me a job as an upholstery place for a minute. Okay, we go from high school. What was my first entrepreneurial? Let me. From junior high through high school, I was a gambler.
Okay then.
I learned how to
All
teenage at the parks,
All right.
you know, because I'm in the
Right.
streets, you know, I'm seeing things, I'm hanging out and stuff.
Right. Right.
And I was good at cards.
All right.
I didn't dice. I never liked dice. I never liked dice. I like cards.
Okay.
I got good at guns. I could always make show fair.
All right.
And, you know, little money and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Got a little some walking money.
Yeah. So I was always involved in things like that, going to parties, and ever since I started about 11 or 12 going to parties and stuff,
Okay.
and hanging out with much older people, just being around people who was hanging out in the streets like that.
I see.
So we get to when I grow up, I go to school. I always loved school. I love school. I was never a person that was dedicated to studying. I never studied my whole, from elementary through high school. I never studied. I could just listen to the teacher, and I could pass.
All right.
And up through junior high, I was an A student.
All right.
And here's the story. This is a real thing in my life, I think. I was like straight A student in math up through junior high. And I got to high school in the 10th grade. I had math. And I flunked it. To this day, I don't even know how I flunked that. I know how good I am in math.
Yeah.
And I was in college prep.
All right.
At the time, this is funny, man.
Go ahead.
At the time, I don't know what college prep is. I'm telling you this because I know what it is now.
Okay.
But I was just in a class. I didn't know I was in a college preparatory class until one of the girls in my brother's class, 12th grade. I was in the 10th, so they was in the 12th. They were in leadership. She told me that my name was brought up as a 10th grader for future leadership.
All right.
And that's when I first found out I was in a college prep curriculum
Gotcha.
or path. But no one had never told me that. I never knew nothing about that. But my grades was putting me in that.
I see.
So when I flunked math, it took me out of the college prep.
The whole program.
Yeah, the whole thing. So my whole career, my whole 3 years in high school, I didn't have to study because I was in just a regular class. I just go in there. It was nothing for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just knock them out. I took the class. I mean, I wasn't an A student, but I was a B and C student all the way through high school and graduated. But I remember kind of the smart kids I was always around. In high school, I was kind of never in class with them no more, but I didn't understand that myself at the time. I just wasn't in the class with them. I didn't know why, you know what I mean? So I never got, I just had the required classes and got out. So when I got out of high school, I went to junior college.
Oh.
Just not with a program or with a direction. I just went. My brother, he was very intellectual and consciously intellectual, and so I went because he was going. You know, he had went to college, so I went. Oakland City College at the time was just that open up right in the neighborhood, so it was no problem to me getting to a school. It was like going to another high school to me, you know. So,
yeah.
But it was only a handful of blacks there. The majority of the college was white.
Okay.
So when I went there, I took liberal arts courses. Never studied, never took a book home with me or anything. And I did 2 years there, and I remember by this time I'm just really coming into what I'm going to do. And another circumstance. In high school, I took mechanical drawing. And this is the only time in high school I felt recognized by circumstance. Somebody came to me in the hall and said, Edward, they called me Edward at the time, your drawing is in the display.
All right.
In the display thing in the halls, you know what I mean?
That's how you found out.
Yeah. The teacher didn't even tell me. My teacher didn't tell me. I did.
Communicate a lot.
This is how my life went. I went and saw my drawing, and that just made me feel so good, man. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, after 2 years of liberal arts, little art school, I don't know what to do. And I'm saying, but I like school. I remembered that. And I knew they had a mechanical design class, and what they called it, it was the what do you call it, the trade and technical part of the liberal arts school.
Okay.
So it was 2 different campuses in the same building, different part of town. I went down there and see things like that. I could go and whatever the requirements to get in, I could just go and get in.
All right.
I went in and signed up and just like that. And that was 2 years. So I took mechanical design, industrial design they called it, and I graduated from that. And that's my engineering background began there.
Right.
So when I got out of there, then I went to work in the engineering field. that took a minute. It didn't take too long. It took about a year. I worked for Lockheed Aerospace. I worked for Kai's Engineers. I have a big story about that. So I think we're probably getting close to that time.
Oh yeah, actually, that is a good time for us
Yeah.
to stop off. Let me grab this video. Okay, so we're back now, and where we left off, we were talking about your work experience and how you were real friendly with your own way of making money and making your own way in this world. So, did you have anything else like that you wanted to share in that regard, as far as like um, your personal experience, or even if you have any examples of times, like, because there's a lot of different ways that you had to find your own way, a lot of different ways for you to make your own way to make money or to have your own way to support yourself. Were you ever met with any times when you needed to practice no negative speak along that way?
Well, especially in San Diego. San Diego was a kind of a different lifestyle that I'd never had before, basically being around white people, I would say. And in when I say I started an engineering firm, it's not just starting an engineering firm. I mean, putting it together and all the paperwork and all of that, that's one thing. But to actually get business is a whole other thing. So yeah, that and the city of San Diego, in my opinion, is a very, very precious
Oh,
city. Very.
wow.
So I had to get out, going knocking on. It was a San Diego is like a military town.
All right.
So again, circumstance is cherry picking for contracts. I mean, they all over the place, you know. But to get contracts is a whole other story for a black man. So I did like I always do. I just went out and started knocking on the doors and talking to them, and wasn't getting any results. And I got into what they call the 8A program, which is a government set aside contracts for minority entrepreneurs. This is back in about 1980, about 1980, I think. And so that's kind of like, now I got not just me walking the door with my company credentials and things, trying to get contracts. I got the government written laws that say what people are supposed to do. So now I got something I can fight with,
Okay.
even though they still treating you like you don't have anything, but you do have something if you know how to fight with it. You know what I mean? So that's a whole other experience of, to the extent I had to fight so hard because they wasn't doing. I'm talking about the people who was running the set aside program was all white people.
Okay.
And they didn't want you to even.
For the minority grant.
Yeah, they didn't even want you to be successful, man. That's a whole long another story how these programs are set up for minorities, set aside, but yet they got the whites running it, and they are doing everything to stop you from being successful. They're there to help you, but they're not doing that. And it came to the point where I started up what they call I called it the not black minority 8A Contractors Association, uh, which is fighting for our rights. You know what I'm saying? And San Diego, the biggest minority is Hispanic, so it's only about outside of we might have had pool of about 30 set aside contractors, and only 3 of them was black. Me, David Lloyd, and this other guy. Only 3 blacks in there.
Okay.
But I just wasn't nobody getting no business. Or if you got it, my first contract I got through them wasn't even an engineering contract. It was a IBM card sorting contract. That's what they gave me, just to paperwork looking like we're doing something.
All right.
So when I saw that happening, I organized the contractors and start just pushing. And I started getting some work. Matter of fact, I got some amount of work after that.
About how long did it take between the pushback and then the actual work coming in?
Okay, the pushback started around about 80, 81. I'm getting small contracts in the meantime, just surviving. I'm getting $10,000 contract. I even got, 100,000, which was still nothing, because when you pay the overhead and all of that, you ain't got much money left. I finally got $1 million contract in 84 or 85, and before I got 2.
Okay.
I got one that I actually got the money. The other one, I only got out of a $1 million plus contract. I only got $100 or some thousand dollars out of it.
Now, how did they justify that?
They justified through when the contracts are set aside. They got in the contracting accounting, how they're set up, the contracts. You have to be very careful about what kind of contract you sign.
Wow.
They're very complicated. I wouldn't say complicated, but if you're not familiar with the system,
Okay.
you can set a contract in a way that you think you got this, but you got that. That contract, I only got 100 some contract. I can't recall the name of it now, but it was like they could piecemeal the contract work out to you, even though it said $1 million plus, but they could give you like 5,000 here, 10,000 there, 20,000 there. They gave me like whatever the amount was, up to $100 some thousand dollars, and said the contract was over. So I never got the total amount of the contract. But technically they said it was okay because it was this type of contract,
Okay.
But now, on the paperwork, it says I had $1,500,000 contract.
Yeah, but the bank says
said $150,000. So and when you implemented the contracts, man, they audit you. I was audited the total from the time I got the first contract. That was probably over $50,000. They started to audit me.
Really?
Yes.
After you did all the work, you put back, you fought to get what was right, and then they came through with the auditors with all in your case.
And that took me off of, after I got the $1 million contract, I say it was just 84, 85. I never marketed a day after that. I had to just keep that contract and put so much effort into that, I didn't even have a chance to really go out and market to grow the business.
I see. So with all this going on, how were you able to maintain like any positivity or anything like that? Because like I'm getting a little hot behind the ears just hearing this. Like I'm like who I need to talk to. But how do you receive that and then process it for what it is, and then you turn around and say, you know what, I'm gonna make something some lemonade out of this?
Uh, for me personally, it's my nature. It's like um, if you come at me the wrong way and I know it's wrong, then you just got a fight on your hands. I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna. I'm in now the course of 12, 13, 14 years. I'm just I'm going to I'm writing letters. I got all the agencies coming at the people that are supposed to be working with me and for me. I'm coming back to Oakland. I know, Ron Dellums, grew up with him. He's a congressman. I go to him. I get him to do things for me to Washington, D.C. That whole system I play.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just a big fight. But I love that. It's not like it's a stress for me.
I see.
It's a stress for most people. It makes you go crazy. But for me, it's just a challenge that makes me feel good.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting because just for somebody who's on the outside looking in, the message is positivity, but then you hear like, oh, you got to fight on your hands if you cross me, and so like I understand how you mean that. I believe so. I'm gonna speak on that, but
Okay.
just for listeners' sake, I wanted to pause right quick and just like give that moment a little context. Because from what I'm gathering, based on what you're telling me, it's kind of like a callback to what you were talking about earlier on about how when people from around the way, they got negativity for everybody else, but like they couldn't get you off your spot. You was like, I'm gonna be me, I'm gonna do my thing, and so it sounds like in this case that positivity is rooted in accountability and doing what's right, like keeping right back in your space. Like all that other stuff going on, like all right, you got all this static, they ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm gonna hold you to what you said you were supposed to do.
Exactly.
So that in that way, there is positivity in that. Like you're not gonna get moved away. You're not gonna be, because there's some stuff you internalize after a while that can make a person bitter.
Right.
It'll mess you up bad. You get rolled around and pushed off. So like to have that sense of self and that being staunch and unmovable about something that's right. Like that's a really really strong lesson for anybody to take home with them. But you already had that.
Yeah, right. And that's why I'm creating what I'm creating. I know that.
All right.
I understand that because I know it works. And I want everyone to have that.
All right.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's right.
If you just understand that within yourself, it'll work.
There it is. There it is. I mean, that's really important. I think that's something that for a lot of people, if they ever get it, it takes them some years to understand. Like sometimes I gotta stand here and I gotta go for mine. Yeah. So that's again doing right by yourself is a form of positivity that could seem like confusing or confounding to somebody when the message is we want you to find positivity and find ways and to coexist and find peace and things of that nature. But at some point or another, like accountability needs to be a factor.
Of course.
And you can't separate that from the equation.
Not at all.
All right.
You got it.
That's all right. All right. Wanted to make sure for me and for anybody else watching along that we made sure we made that point.
Okay.
So, so for how long did you work under these conditions with the contracts being all funny and then with the auditing and it sounds like a little bit of they're kind of giving you a lot of stress and maybe trying to push you out of being in that space.
Well, that's exactly what they were doing. Because I was being positive and doing what I do. It's going to put you in the leadership, you know, and that's what I was. When I said I started up this association. So to answer your question, was the total time I was in business, that's what was happening. It never let up.
Oh,
It
all right,
never let up.
all right. And how long exactly were you in business?
20 years, 19 years.
You dealt with that for 19,
For
20
19
years.
years, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's just what it. That's I call it the slave system.
all right,
That's the system.
all right.
And anyone, uh, well, I don't want to discourage anyone, but if you're black and you're going in business and you're going to trying to be successful, in most cases you're gonna run into this.
All right.
You're just gonna run into it. It's there. But the only way you're gonna break it is to challenge it.
There you go.
Yeah,
Accountability.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, accountability.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you
That's
challenge it. It can be broken.
that's right. That's
You know,
good.
you can. I always put it this way: all you do is make the effort, and your energy or your positiveness. It brings things from those things people call faith, God, that. But it just comes. It comes to you, man.
All right.
But if you just put that energy out there, that
Right.
positive energy is the ultimate, man, in
That's
my mind.
right. All right.
Yeah.
And ultimately, all you wanted
Right.
was a level playing field.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Just
Right. Right.
just get out of
It's
my
all
way.
all
Let me do what I
right.
do.
Right. Right. Right.
That's it. No, that's all right. So, you dealt with that for 20 years, and so you at the same time you were raising a family, right?
Oh yeah. Good. Good.
Right. So did that affect the family or any of the dynamics there?
Um, the way I look at it this way, okay. When I left Oakland, my three oldest kids, my one daughter was just beginning. When I left Oakland, she went right to Howard,
All right now.
and yeah, she went to Howard. And my second daughter was in the ninth grade, and my first son was in the eighth grade when we got to San Diego, and I had a 4-year-old when we got to San Diego. See, I got to San Diego in 80 or 79, I think it was. So in 80, yeah, in 80, I'm in business. So, I mean, I just hit the ground and I just did that.
All right.
Really? I mean, I went down there. It wasn't, I don't, I don't feel, I don't remember having no bad time
All right.
in the sense of family.
Okay.
Of
All right.
course, yeah, in the sense of family, I didn't have no bad time because I was providing for them. It
Ooh.
was just the fight I was having
All right.
within the system
All right. And
to do what I was doing.
I see.
But I just did that in terms of making money behind all the things I'm telling you they was putting on me.
I see.
I put it this way, when I talk to my buddies, I talk this way. It's like, I went to San Diego, man. I got to be the top black guy. I jumped over everybody. I
Okay.
mean, within a year or two, man.
All right. Was it mostly because you didn't have there weren't that many black people working down that way, or was it more so you had the credentials, you had the background, and you not necessarily had a fast track in that regard, but you had the necessary ingredients to get there.
Well, the ingredients were the best word I would have described it. Meaning, the ingredients was just me coming from Oakland, California.
All right.
It wasn't the schooling. It wasn't the normal thing you would think about, like, you know, you qualified and all those things. It was more the attitude.
All right.
It was the way I was totally different from the black population in San Diego.
So
They
like,
ain't never seen nothing like me.
yeah, that confidence.
I'm serious about that.
Yeah.
They ain't never seen nothing like me.
Yeah.
Someone who would speak up, who would go at them like I did. Everyone would say, "Man, you can't do that. Don't do that. Or stop." You know? Or when you even they see you doing it, they'd almost want to bring you down. Because it's like I'm talking about the upper class, and that's what I was in. I was around. I got to know just like that. I got all the doctor, lawyer, Indian chief of San Diego. Politicians, I knew everybody in there, just overnight. Because speech-wise, then I was live. I was just a guy that could handle everything.
I see.
Whereas everybody else was more systematized and just went along with the way it was set and do what they were told. And I was nothing like that. I mean, it wasn't like I was trying. I was busy being myself.
Right.
That's all I was. Right. And no one else was being themselves. You could see in San Diego the black successful type was not being themselves. They was trying to be.
Okay.
You know, they was trying to be what they thought the system wanted them to be.
I get you.
And that's exactly the wrong way to go.
I get you.
Exactly the wrong way.
So there's a couple lessons in there. You know, we'll have to spend some time on a different chat, kind of exploring that. But like I hear a few things in there, like about, you know, it comes right back to the program and the mission and things that we've been talking about. But just, you know, in living life and, you know, life lessons there. You know, having to, you know, fit yourself into a box, you know, for the sake of your career or your livelihood or something like that. You know, like you still got to live with yourself at the same time. So like it's a lot like I don't know how to put it into words, but it just seems like a cramped life. Like you're working so hard to be to fit dimensions that don't suit you.
Right.
And you were having none of that. And
I had none of that. I had none of that. And I say it's my upbringing in Oakland. I give all the credit to my coming to Oakland and that whole circumstance of me growing up in the things I did as a kid on up prepared me for this kind of life I have, which is I call it what I call it the men I grew up around and boys and guys of my age. I didn't know too many people who didn't have the same basic attitude I have. I mean, it wasn't like I stood out in Oakland.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't stand out. As a matter of fact, I would say most of my personal friends stood out before I did.
Okay, then.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When we were growing up, I thought they stood out more.
I see.
And mostly because I say that because most of them was athletic. I wasn't athletic.
Oh,
I wouldn't say I wasn't athletic. I was just in the circumstances didn't allow me to get into athletic stuff. If I'd have got into it and got to play it every day like they was doing it, then I would have been athletic too. You know, I was just my youngest sister was born when I was 8 years old. I was babysitting and stuff like that, so I couldn't go out and do develop, you know, from a young age like they did.
I see.
So, yeah, Oakland prepared me department. All the recreation directors were black. And I was in everything. I was into social clubs. I was in one of the college debutantes,
Okay, yeah.
training and all that, mannerism. I did all
Etiquette
that.
classes.
Recreation department.
I see.
The card playing, ping pong, pool, all them skills I could do.
All right.
You know
all
what I'm saying? I could fit anywhere I go. I'm comfortable.
Got that.
High, low, in between. I'm comfortable. Let just be myself.
That's it.
Yeah.
Straight no chaser.
Yeah, right. Straight no chaser. I like that.
All right. So, I did have a question. Like when you run into people who were trying to fit themselves into places that they don't necessarily fit. When they run into you, did they ever be like, you know what, he's doing something I should be doing. I'm gonna ask him, like, or I'm just gonna emulate, or I'm just gonna free myself from trying to be something I'm not. Like, did you ever notice anybody who was like take to your influence in that way, where they're like, you know what, that man's living free, and I want that for myself?
I understand what you're asking me. And where I would answer that is, just off the top, I don't think so. I know they saw what I was, but it was almost like they didn't want to believe it. Even to the extent of maybe you call it jealousy or things, those kind of terms. It was almost like they want to find a flaw. I'm too together.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm doing stuff that here's a note. I don't have an engineering degree.
Okay.
I have an associate
Associate's degree, huh?
in industrial design.
Okay, then.
But I know I'm a businessman. See, people don't. I don't want to give too much game here. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying.
We edit later.
Yeah. This is still our stuff. A businessman can run an engineering firm. He don't have to be an engineer to run an engineering firm.
All right.
To set it up.
I didn't know that.
See, that's what I'm saying. I know. Most people don't. That's game. I just gave you. Exactly. And you a lawyer. See what I'm saying?
Because you can't run a law firm if you're not a lawyer.
Yeah.
They don't let that. They don't let that go.
Right.
You
But
can't
engineer is different.
All right.
Civil engineering, you do have to have a license for that.
I see.
But not all the other engineering disciplines.
I see.
You have to have a license to work for an engineering firm. I own the firm. I hired the guy with the license.
All right.
You follow me? That's how I just do it.
All right.
I just go out and hire him. I had PhDs, master's degrees.
All right.
In mechanical, in civil, in structural, in piping, and all the disciplines.
All right.
And I run the contracts. So I'm not running a business. I know how to hire them.
There you go.
That's all big men do anyway. They looking for the college graduate.
Right.
And put them in the slot that he want to put them in. For what he's doing. You follow? That's what I did.
All right.
For 20 years, And I'm saying, because, again, going back to Oakland, where I would put it is because San Diego don't game. So they can't understand. They're just looking at me like, you can't do that. You can't. You shouldn't do that because you know. And that's what I would tell them, man. It's a game. I always my language all the time. You got to learn the game.
Right. Seems like you had a lot of people in that network were handicapped by things that they felt like they couldn't do or shouldn't do. Would you say that's accurate, or they just
well, they handicapped by the system. They just don't know. You're taught to do it the way they're doing it. They're not doing it wrong, but say game no game. I mean, it's kind of like you just don't know. How you gonna know unless someone teaches you?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Somebody got to put you on.
Take you by the hand and show you.
Exactly.
Which I'm the kind of person, I'm trying, I want it, I've always liked that. I want to show you. But because of other factors like, well, man, I got a PhD. How you going to tell me something? Is that?
Closed mind.
That's the thing that's going to come to me all the time.
I got you.
The attitude is like, man, you can't tell me nothing.
I got you.
And I can run circles around it. I know that. But I don't put that on you because I know better,
There you go.
But, you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you, going into some detail on that, because those are, our listeners are going to need some real life examples like some of that. I can definitely see being a thing, like in day-to-day interactions now,
right,
for a lot of people.
Right.
And so, that's something I actually appreciate that you shared, is because, I went to school, got my degrees and things,
right,
and one of the main things I wanted to do was make sure nobody fell into the same pitfalls, same holes that I did. I was like, I'm gonna give you all the game I got. And I want to make sure, even if it ain't much, at least don't, make the wrong turns I did, and you'd be surprised. Well, you might not, but some people out there, like maybe some people out here, might be surprised at how often you get met with people who absolutely don't want to hear anything about it. And they'll fight you tooth and nail about it, and you're like, man, I'm just trying to help you along your way. It's amazing. And so one of the things I wanted to ask you is, what would you say? What would you recommend somebody in that position to do when they're met with that kind of thing? Like, I'm trying to look out for somebody else's best interest, and they want me to just mind my business, but my spirit is saying, like, I'm here. Like, I want to make myself available if you want to come hear what I got to say, but maybe you don't want to hear right now. Like, is there something that you want to put out there or share that maybe helpful for somebody?
That's a difficult position to be in, because we're the same. We're talking about. I've always been that way. I'm just a giving person. I love to share. I love for us to be better. I'm just like that. I can't even tell you why I'm like that, but to try to give it to people who are rejecting it, don't want it, and all those kind of things. I don't even know today really how to get around that other than to just create your thing, which is what I do. Everything I've done was my thing,
Yeah.
The West Oakland Stores Positivity Movement is my thing. Now I've developed my thing to bring those kind of people in, to develop them into that. But kind of one-on-one kind of way when people, because you're considered equal,
Right.
So that's a hard thing to get past,
Right.
Because they can do what they want to do what they want to do,
Absolutely.
But you create your thing, now you can put them in a slot. They got to listen to what you say a lot of time, or you can actually tell them what to do, and then you can get to them enough or long enough that then they can maybe see,
All right.
what your program or what they just become what you are,
I see.
and they'll begin to understand. But that's a process.
I see. So, if I can kind of summarize what I'm hearing.
Please do.
All right, all right.
Please
From what it sounds like,
do. Yeah.
you recommend people to continue to be their own light, and continue to shine bright.
Right.
And maybe they're not ready to step into any kind of light that you're letting off. Maybe they want to explore their own thing, but you can't be discouraged by that. You
Right.
can't let that light dim down because you met with opposition.
Right.
So you continue to be an example. You continue to do what you got to do. And maybe they come around. Maybe they get it from somebody else who's influenced or maybe even parallel to your own light. Maybe it's not even your light. They get to them,
Right.
but they can still see.
Right.
They can still like it's in all that darkness out there. Like you still got some comfort knowing
Don't let them get to you.
Exactly, because that darkness can consume that light if you let it. So continue to let that light out, and maybe they'll light their way.
Okay.
Won't necessarily be yours that goes the distance, but maybe it help. In the grand scheme.
Exactly.
Okay, so I really do appreciate that lesson. That just happened. We didn't plan that at all. That was I like that one. So. Actually, we'll need to stop right now and reset. So I'm gonna pause.
Okay.
And,
going on, and I'm sitting back talking to myself. I got the woman that everybody wants.
All right now.
I got the perfect woman for me. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
It's just that I would say in a nutshell, I wouldn't be talking like this or acting like this or anything without that woman.
All right.
I have right now in my life, as of today, March the 28th, 2023, 64 years,
64 years.
of, well, actually, let's say 66 years. 64 years of marriage, and 2 years before that I met her,
All right.
and we came together. So, yeah, family, very important to me. I stress in our conversation street things. I love the streets. My concept of the streets is not necessarily like gangster. I don't want that to be the thing I project. Although I've been around it, have friends in it, and all of that. But streets to me is just been a person that is out around all types of people. That's how I came in the streets through circumstances. Family fell apart and all that stuff. But my mother and the kids, and she trying to handle the whole thing, which I admire her for 100%. But I was just free. It was a blessing for me. I go to school. I didn't come back at 12 o'clock at night. I did that from the time I was 12 years old.
All right.
So it was that, because we only got like 2 rooms, and we got 4, at one point 4 kids, then we had 6 altogether. She had 6 altogether. So that's after my father and mother, broke up. But, so it was nothing to come home to in terms of the household. It was just too many people in there.
I got
you. So I go for school. I go to school. I get out of school. I go to recreation center. Recreation center closes at 10, and I'm, few enough guys, you know, who can still stay out late. We stay out late. We just hang, go down on 7th Street or whatever. We just go sneak in the movies, you know. We just do things. You know? But I did that my whole teenage life, you know. So it's just natural for me. I got the video with Bill Russell, which I say he turned me out tonight because he was the one when I was 13 years old, coming out of Deferment Park, the Recreation Center. After it closed, we all just talking like this. 4 or 5. I'm 13. They in high school.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He said, Edward. No, everybody said, come on, man, we going out, we're sneak in the movie. And Bill said, Everett, come on along with us. That's all you said, Everett, come on along. He said it just like I'm saying it, because it was like, oh, okay, I'm 13, you know. And I just love staying out late. It was just natural. It just, go to the movie, you get out about 12, you got to walk home and all that. I'm not afraid of the streets. I'm not afraid of dogs. I'm not none of that stuff, you know. Right. So that just made me just who I am, man. So I've always been that way. I've always stuck to that. Even though I've done the engineering, I've done the businesses and all those things. I still love to just be to. Right now, at my age, I don't go to bed no night before 3 or 4 o'clock.
All right.
No time unless tonight I did because I had to get up at 7. I went at 12. I went at 12 last night.
Okay, then.
So I can get up for this meeting.
All right. Yeah. You stay the night owl.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Oh, man. So, the conversation just now, we were starting with family, and what could you kind of talk us through what it was like to be a husband and a father and or mentor, or just a member of that your community. You can start with Oakland. You can go to your professional life in San Diego. However you want to approach that.
The way I look at myself, the way the type of father I am, I'm a very caring father in the sense of I have never missed a school meeting with my kids. I've never missed a graduation. I've never missed the birth of my kid at a hospital. To give you some feel of what I'm trying to say.
Oh, sure.
That's the kind of father I am. I did that.
Yeah.
And I know the difference, because none of my fathers did none of that.
Oh, wow.
We all had kids.
All right.
Matter of fact, I'm the last one to have kids, and I had kids early, but they had them even earlier than I did.
All right.
But what I'm trying to say is that I don't know none of my friends that's like me. You know, they hit and miss, do a little something, but I'm telling you, I ain't missed none of this.
Constant.
Yeah, right. Constant.
Yeah.
Beautiful word.
All right.
That's what I am.
All right.
I am constant.
All right.
And I do it consciously.
All right.
And you know why I do it consciously? Because I am a street person.
All right.
I'm a person that be out all night. Maybe more than a night. I'm a person that not at home hardly ever. I mean, I come home, you know, I'm at home. But I do that consciously. What I'm saying is, because I know what I am and what I do, and I know what that is, I also know I got to double up and be there for my kids and everything that a person who's supposed to be in the street not supposed to be doing that.
Right.
So I consciously make sure I do both.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? I do
Gotcha.
both of them. So you can't come back and say, you know, you had you and you were just in the street. Like the normal thing is, if you're in the street, that's what your kids gonna say, because you are just in the street, because you ain't conscious enough to understand. You have to be there with them too. I've always been that kind of consciousness that my kids can't. I'm damned to say it, because I'm gonna say, well, what graduation did I miss? You know what I'm saying? That meeting at the school was not there.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that.
Yeah.
Like you see on TV, the kids be talking about things like that. My kids can't do that to me.
All right.
Because I know I was there.
I'll see that.
Consciously.
And they wouldn't even want to at that point.
Right. So that's the way I see myself as a father. I'm just a hell of a rounded father. I mean, I do that and I do the other thing too, but and they love me for it because I'm real with them. Again, I don't just be myself in the job. I mean, in the business and stuff like that. I be myself with everything.
Okay.
You know, I'm just my wife. Is like in the streets. I would say 90% of the time I never thought I was married. Because I'm in the street. It's like the business. How could you can't, you know, I'm married. No, you ain't married. It's like, they telling me I'm not married. I just see you all the time. What, how you? And everybody wants to be like that, but it's a whole mind thing. You can be that way if you consciously think this way.
There you go.
You know, and practice that way.
Yeah, that's right.
Not just talk it, just practice it. You know.
That's right. Old football coach used to tell us that. He was like, "Perfect practice makes perfect."
Yeah.
Like, don't just practice. Like, they ain't gonna do it. You gotta have a goal in mind. Like, you gotta have something you're practicing towards.
Right.
So that's what I'm hearing right now. Like you knew what you wanted to be, like what kind of presence you wanted to have, whether it was work, whether it was around your family, and you were like, I'm going to make sure that presence is felt.
Right. Yeah.
So it's very, very intentional.
Right.
Like that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, your wife Faye, how did she manage during all this time as well? Like, she's got children. Did she also have a career that she had to?
No, my wife is a lady. We talked about this last night. It's funny you bring that up. My wife is a woman that always said, I want to be a mother and raise a family. And even our daughters was always, well, Mom, don't you want to be something else? Don't you want to, you know?
Yeah.
And she was always, this is what I want to do.
Okay.
And I always, this is between me and her, I always tell her that I gave you exactly what you wanted. At the time of black, especially black women, feminism was coming in.
Oh, okay, yeah.
With especially my oldest daughter. You know, it was like housewife and all that stuff was like, that's crazy for you to want to be like that.
All right.
So that's what she's had to deal with in terms of society. She is still that woman that, have you ever met my wife?
I don't think we've gotten to meet.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. You ain't no met no way. But when you see her, you'll know it just like that. But I'm saying, what I'm trying to explain is she has had to deal with, she's just like me, but the woman side of me, or so what you want to call that. You can't take her off of being who she want to be. And everybody's trying to be, you ought to be, you ought to, that good. No, I wanna take care of my family. I wanna be a mother. I want kids. I want it to be this way. And it ain't like I made her that way. You know, she wants to be that way. I just enhanced her, just like she enhanced me.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying?
That's beautiful.
That's my wife, man. She lets me be free, and I believe I let her be free.
That's right.
By giving her exactly what she wants.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
That's why I can roll. You know me now, Maurice. You see how I am. I know it comes all right. Well, me and my wife walk down the street. They stop us in the street. Excuse me. I just want to tell y'all, blah blah. We get it all the time. Anywhere we go, black or white. Right. Anybody, because it just comes out, man.
That's right.
Because it's so real, you know.
There you go. Can't deny that light. Oh yeah, there's a lot of people searching for that, you know, with themselves. With the next one, yeah.
Everybody's searching for that.
It's beautiful that you have that with somebody else. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, so that's you know, it reminds me a lot of my parents.
Is that right?
Relationship. A lot like that. I would love to get my mother to come and speak for the program, just to speak with you. You know, she speaks glowingly for my father in that way too, and you know, the same way she was there for us, and he made sure he provided, and made sure it was all possible. So he laid a lot of the foundation, and she made sure she did all the extra, making sure that house was a home, and making sure it was running. So, like you, I was getting home 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, because I was out doing this and all the programs and things. Right. It's all because of them. Like, I wouldn't be able to do all that, you know, otherwise. So, it's one of those things, you know, from the perspective of somebody who's on the receiving end of that kind of relationship and that kind of love. Like, it was much appreciated. Yeah, so it'd be beautiful to, you know, get a chance to speak with your children too. If we get them on here too. You have a whole little group discussion.
I just always say let it flow. I don't like really setting things up.
I got you.
Let it just flow natural.
I got you. Definitely. Yeah, but that's...
They already know about it. Always your name pops up all the time. That guy, man. You dynamite. I mean, when you tell me what you just tell me, it's like it ain't no surprise to me. Okay. I mean, I can see it in you.
Oh, yeah,
it's no surprise. You know,
yeah.
Just the way we get it all from the jump back in San Diego. Stockton.
Yeah.
I can Stockton.
Yeah.
I could feel that from you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's, you know, it does my heart good to hear that kind of thing, because, you know, I'm very proud of my parents. I'm proud of it. Very, very proud of them. Right. They got their own story, too. And, you know, one day we're going to get them to, get my mother to sit down and tell it. She can spin some yarn, so we're going to need all the tape we can get for that one.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's great to have family and to have that love, you know. And so like that's family in the sense of like, you know, blood, and then like marriage, or if we were to expand on that, like and then talk a little bit about what I call chosen family, like your friends, you know, colleagues you're cool with, you know, that kind of thing. Like, do you have anybody who's been impactful, or they made an impression in your life, in the sense of like, these are my partners, these are my friends, these are people who, you know, I chose to walk through life with, and they instilled some positivity in me.
Are you saying there's some other people that did that? What do you say?
Yeah, it's just in terms of like friends, like people outside of outside of family, right?
that instills some special things in me.
Just really going back to positivity and you know we see so much going on in this world. Like we wanted to talk a little bit and give a little time for speaking about like friends and choosing the people who are going to be in your life.
If I understand your question, I thought you was asking, do I can I talk about some people who put positivity into me?
Sure, sure.
I thought about that, and it's hard for me to come up with. You know, normally if someone does that, you'll know it's like that. You know, and let me put it this way. Okay, I got an older brother. He's passed now. He was like a chosen person too. I mean, he was like, when we was coming up, he was very smart. Everyone knew him in the community. And I was the little brother, right? Baby brother, they call me, baby brother in the family.
All right.
So I'm coming up with the baby brother name from the jump, you know. But anyway, he was very smart, very outgoing, and leader. Leadership was his thing. And I would say he is the one was the most influence on me. Not really from the standpoint of talking to me, influencing me. It was just what he was doing. I'm watching him. You know what I'm saying? He didn't really, he was always like, almost trying to always tell me like I'm doing something wrong. That's the way I was really sick of him. He wasn't really, he was basically be like me.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't want to be like you. So, like I'm saying, I'm like, I want to be street because you're going to be intellectual and straight that way. He was very much like a straight guy.
Got it.
You know, super straight, you know. Not square, but straight, you know what I mean? I ain't never want to be that way.
Okay.
But I know as on this memorial, when I got up and talked, I described him kind of like that, and I said he was the kind of guy that was always thought he was right. And then I capped it off by saying, well, 99% of the time, he was right. He was that kind of guy. So I've even said he's influenced me more than my father did.
All right.
I've said things like that. So he's like the only person outside of my brother. I mean, my mother. I can tell you some things I think about her too. She influenced me. But outside of the immediate family, I don't know people that I've dealt with that I put in that category.
I see.
Not like they really influenced me, or they really, or even looked up to them like that. I don't really like the term look up. I'll say I respect you.
There you go.
Things like that. But I reject the term for myself. Even it's something like it saying I'm trying to look up to somebody. Like I got so much in me. Like I think I'm as much as anybody. You know?
Yeah.
And I don't do that, you know.
And that's what you rooted. It's
yeah, I'm really rooted in that. And you know, I'll give you. I mean, I can respect you. I can give you everything. I ain't got no ego that I can't give you a thing, but I ain't gonna, I can't say I look up to you. Don't say it to me that way.
I get it. Yeah, I get that. That makes a lot of sense.
Respect you,
That makes a lot
what you do. And we'll give you your credit. I love people. I love to learn from people. And I'll tell you, man, I learned that from you.
There you go.
I love to make people feel good. I mean, not game-wise good, but real good, man.
That's really I'm not gonna say it's the first time I've heard it put that way, but it's the first time I've heard it all put together that way. I've heard bits and pieces of that from different people over time, but especially the sense that I don't want to. You not wanting to use the term like I look up to somebody because there's so much in me.
Yeah.
That it almost took me to church there. It did. We sing a song for the guests who come in. They say that Jesus in me loves Jesus in you. That makes you easy to love. And so like that's one of those things that we sung it every Sunday, but it takes me back to that. In that sense, like like there's no hierarchy here,
right.
But I can recognize, the goodness in you, and I need you to see it in me, and there's a connection there. So that's one of those things that that's what I mean. It took me to church, like that's it's a wonderful thing, especially if you're able to have that mutual understanding with somebody else.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely, and that's something I do want. That I do hope especially people following along, get a chance to really sit with that kind of thing and make sure that they find that balance within themselves. Like I don't necessarily need to shrink in the presence of somebody else who's awesome because you're also somebody who's awesome. And let them, learn to appreciate that, the both of you.
Right.
So that's, in that sense, are there, outside of your brother or your mother, is there, there were other figures in your life? Were there anybody else where you had any appreciation?
Yeah, I have appreciations like it's mostly street things like Chad. Chad was I got the categories, Chad was he was a dresser.
All right.
Whole life. Never had a job.
Okay.
He just dressed.
But he clean.
He clean. I mean, just like I'm trying to tell you, man. I know I got this from him. Right. I'm talking about because I've seen him since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Took it all the way after he died.
Right.
He was just a cool, dressing guy.
Right.
He didn't work. He didn't have no money. But he kept. They used to say he had two shirts a lot of times. He'd be up and down with two. He'd wash one, iron the other one. He wouldn't come out the house till he, in the whole whatever all the some over here, and he come out.
All right.
I love that.
Fly.
I love that. There's people like that I can tell you about now. Him, Chad was one. There's not a lot of them. Who else was in categories like that to me coming up? Charlie Walker. It's another one in my life that he just died last month.
Oh wow.
Frisco.
Oh, wow.
Charlie Walker is he's a character. I met him when I had my television show.
Okay.
We ain't even got to that yet, so I got no minute things.
Yeah.
Charlie Walker is from Frisco. I mean, he ain't from Frisco, but he grew up in Frisco. Charlie, I'm estimating this. Charlie I think Charlie's 100 years old.
Right.
Plus.
Right.
On his memorial write-up, they say he was 88. I know that's a lie. I know that's a lie, Maurice. But he is Charlie. Francisco is in 1970, 71 game. Charlie, truck driver, but he's a community worker. Very aggressive. Organizing the truckers because they don't give no black people no truck driving opportunities. He's the man for that. Bring him on my TV show, and I don't just heard his name. I don't really know him at this point. And when I bring him on the TV show, but he already knows my brother, because my brother and Willie Brown like that. And Charlie and Willie Brown is like that.
All right.
But I don't, they know them. I ain't in that crowd because I ain't never did much Frisco.
Gotcha.
So I'm just an Oakland, West Oakland guy. So I meet Charlie, when I bring him over there, because I hear about what he's doing, to put him on the show. And then, like, you heard Howard's brother? That's just him. He'll say, you heard Howard's brother? Look me up and down. I said, yeah. Where's Howard's brother? Now, at the time, what did she just say? Our time is 2.
I think so. I think she was saying like the person
like we overtime,
like way over.
Well, then let's just wrap it up.
Okay.
Let's just wrap it up. Yeah.
All right. So, Ed, I want to thank you for taking time to share part of your story and explaining about West Oakland stories and about the movement with the positive feeling movement aspect of the mission. For right now, though, are there any other words of positivity, affirmation, or anything like that that you want to share with anybody who's following along?
Right now, I'm to my peak, I think. I need to just cut it off, and we continue on at some other point.
All right. Well, with that said, you can follow along. You can you can find Ed at on Facebook at WOSPFM, and you can find us on YouTube also. Look for us at WOSPFM, and we'll have some other socials up later. But right now, it's just the two of us, so we're going to keep it small. But until we see you later, this is Ed, this is Maurice, and we're signing off.
Right on.
All right, y'all.